Welcome to this episode of Expressions the Podcast. This is episode 31, and it's just the hosts tonight because we're talking about something really fun, musical expression. Musical expression, I don't know if that's the right thing to call it because really it's about how we interpret music.
I mean, you could technically call it that, yeah.
What we like and what we don't like, you know?
Yeah, it's like an expression of the self, like what kind of shit you're into, I guess, you know?
Yeah.
Well, this is going to be a fun show, I think. First of all, because I haven't seen these guys for a while, and I don't know if people watching are going to tell because we're going to be releasing these week after week. But there's been weeks between our episodes, and catching up is always fun. So why don't we do that first, Mark? How have you been this week?
I've been great. It's been a lot of fun up here in Thunder Bay. The weather's been nice. I've been able to drive both Trans Ams this week. So, of course, one of them I drove from the mechanic to home, and then the other one I drove to the mechanic from home, just for some maintenance and whatnot. But
is that like the standard thing with those kinds of cars?
Yeah, well, they're old. They're old. Like I made some changes to my Trans Am, which is an '88, and when they take one thing apart, it broke another one because it's old, kind of like me, right? It's old and plastic and shit breaks, right? What are you going to do?
You're not old, Mark.
But
get over it. You're not
old. But one guy on the customer comments. Yeah. Anyway. But no, I digress. It's one of those just sort of a given for a car of its vintage that stuff is going to break, especially when it's plastic and but whatnot.
Makes sense.
Yeah, but when I brought it home, I didn't put it in the garage right away. I'd left it out in the driveway and put it back the next day. And when I started it up to go put it in the garage, I started up and I'm sitting there with it running, and I went, heck with it. I don't need to be early to work. And I went for a cruise around the city, and I got to work on time, but I was intending to be early. Didn't happen because I went for a drive.
That's the problem with having a fun car to drive.
Yeah, why not?
I just
right?
want to be out in the car. Yeah, Sean's nodding his head.
Yep, yeah. Tell me about it.
Yeah.
Even if you don't have a fun car, sometimes it's nice to just go out for a drive and listen to music. That's a big one for me.
And I'll tell you, that's exactly what I did. I have satellite radio in one of them and a CD player in the other because it's old. And I just turn up the tunes and away I go.
I was going to say, I thought Mark was going to say I have the 8-track and a Poison cassette that I just pop in from time to time.
So speaking of that,
excuse me, Poison CD. Thank you.
Elton John may be on 8-track. All right. Eagles.
Well, speaking of that, actually, Andrew has a 1993 Jetta TDI that he drives around, and if you ever see it, it's the multicolored one. The back is silver, the front is black, the doors are red. It was initially black, but it's just multicolored vehicle. And in that car, he just has the tape and the radio. So we ended up finding this thing online, which I thought was pretty cool. It's like this. It's the form factor of a tape, but you can actually Bluetooth your phone through the tape.
Bluetooth now. They used to have that
it's
where you plug in the headphones.
Yeah.
So it's just a tape thing that turns it into Bluetooth. So that's kind of interesting.
When Brian and I were young and there was tape decks in cars and CDs started coming out, what they did was they sold that unit with a headphone cable on it and you plugged it into your Walkman.
Yeah, that's like my career. So 1999 Melotone adapter.
Yeah.
I mean,
exactly. Yeah. And those of us who just had to have music but couldn't afford a stereo when it blew up, I went through a time where I had a ghetto blaster, a boombox in front of in the middle of in the seat, right? And you just swapping. That was an adventure, swapping tapes at north of the speed limit on the highway. Yes.
Just so everybody knows, I'm still here. It's just my camera overheated again.
On it, just
give it a good blow.
Yeah.
Well, they want me to blow up for you.
Brian, you don't have to have your camera for the show, or if you want, you can even just turn on a webcam. I'm sure people aren't. Yeah, or
people don't want to see me anyway, so I'll just talk.
No,
it'll
Brian,
be on.
Come on. We want to see the majesty. We want to see the majesty that is.
Yeah, I know you like the fancy camera and everything, but you just flip on the webcam. I've done it before. What was it? When I was at a conference, I use my webcam on my
I don't know where
computer.
my webcam is.
You don't have one on your computer?
I have a Mac Mini.
Mini. It's a mini
Oh, it
Mac.
doesn't have one?
No, ma'am.
Oh,
Mark.
no.
Oh my God.
Mini me.
All right. Well,
Oh,
let's
no.
not even worry about that.
All right.
That's not a big deal. So, yeah. So we're going to talk about music. Sean, we're going to talk about cars, and we haven't said hi to you yet. So, how's Lucille doing? How are you doing?
Good, man. I just got I got very lucky. I know someone who was able to make me a new banner for my car. Because the group that I was in, Shake and Bake, I don't know. We haven't really been doing much this summer, so it was like I'm just gonna casually remove myself from the group. So I wanted to come up with something different, and I came up with "Slow but Satisfied." It was that, or it was some quote from Star Wars, but I think the quote from Star Wars would have been too long.
You could have just put "This is the way" and been done with it.
That's true. I was leaning towards like between slow but satisfied and Red 5 standing by.
Oh, okay. I
thought
thought
you
you were going
said-
to say "Never tell me the odds."
I thought you were going
No,
to say this
that's-
is not
that's
the
a good
drone
one.
for you, and do the hand.
Where's my R2 unit?
Who's scruffy looking? You know.
The Toyota X-Wing.
There's so many quotes you could have from
Yeah,
Star
it's
Wars.
just
when
so
you
many
think
things.
about
Yeah,
it. You
I
could just
like
go
slow
on.
but satisfied.
Yeah,
Oh,
I think it's good because I mean the car's like slow, but like it's not meant to be quick. At least I don't think so. Like all that horsepower. Where the hell am I going to go with it, right? So I might as well
Right.
just go A to B, and at least the car looks good. So fuck it, right?
Yeah,
Love it.
and you have fun driving it, right? So that's
absolutely.
all that counts, right? You just go, just drive it.
Well,
Oh,
we were
yeah,
talking
no.
about that with you, Mark. I mean, even me just today, earlier, it's my day off today. So I went for a little drive around in my old beater. And I don't care if it's got rusted out quarter panels and rocker panels, whatever they're called. And, like I literally put my hand up through there. I don't care. I love driving the car.
That's how you wave at your public. You just put it out the side.
Yeah, there you go. The car
Leave
might
it to
turn a
the
little bit, but it's okay.
Yeah, it's like a rudder.
No, that piece fell off already.
That's how I just turn left and right. I'm gonna turn left.
It just goes straight now. That's all. Whereas my mother likes to say, "Go gaily forward." That's she doesn't like to say going straight.
Nice.
But that's another show. We can talk about that. Aurora, how have you been? Not like you've been doing anything special this past week.
Yeah.
I am on vacation.
Look how happy you are in your hair. Look how good you look.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
I like the new hair.
I'm acting like you can see me right now. I'm like flinging my hair.
So yeah, I'm on vacation. I started my vacation last Saturday. It was a wedding. Actually, I had to be at. I was pretty excited about that. One of our close friends, actually from kind of like the car community, both of them were getting married, and it was really exciting. So we went to the wedding, and then I had a day to like prep and get ready. And then I went to Nashville with one of my closest friends, one of my best friends, Elisa. She was actually on episode, I think, 14, season 1. And we went to Nashville together, and it was so much fun. I highly recommend going to Nashville. I'm not a country music fan at all.
I don't think any of us are.
I really don't like Southern accents. Like just like the way
The
the
drawl.
Southern, yeah. There's something about that really annoys me. I don't know what it is, but it's always been that way. I'm not a Southern accent
It sounds
person. I know a
stupid.
lot of people love it.
It sounds uneducated, and that, I'm not trying to say anything rude or mean, because to be honest with you, the majority of our viewers are from the United States. And
Jeff Foxworthy nailed it, right?
That's true.
go for
You
it.
never want to hear a brain surgeon say, "All right, what we're going to do here, we're going to cut your head off," and you don't want to hear that from a brain surgeon, right? But that's Jeff Foxworthy, not me. We'll hashtag him down below. Maybe we should tag him in it, but.
It's very interesting. It's just like a preference of mine. I'm just not a big fan of it. So when I was there, actually before I was there, like everybody was joking. Like Andrew knows I'm not a country music fan. He actually likes some country music. He likes country music. It's not his I guess, his favorite kind of music, but he has it in his playlist. And Elisa loves country music. A bunch of my friends love country music, and then some of us just like also don't like it at all, just like me. And a lot of people were just like taking bets of like how quickly I would lose my patience when we got to Nashville. There were definitely some reaction videos that were sent to people for sure. But all in all, it was a really great trip. Like, even though I was in the country music, like, capital of the world, basically, it wasn't all country music for sure. They call it Music City for a reason, because it's just like literally everywhere you go, any site that you would see, there's some relation to music in regards to that. And it was just such a cool experience being there. On our first night, we went and first day we went to like a little cafe. We got all dressed up, like very girly and stuff like that. It was really nice. And then after that, we decided to take a walk down Broadway. And walking down Broadway was like unlike anything I've ever seen before or heard before. We were walking down the street, and there's like something like around 60 bars open.
Holy shit!
And not to mention, it was a Monday night, and each one of these bars were packed with people, tons of people. And there are people walking along the sidewalk. They're just listening to the bar, like what's going on in the bars and, you know, what's happening and that kind of thing. And me and my friend we just decided, hey, you know what? We're just going to walk up and down Broadway, see what it's like. So we're walking by each one of these bars, and then we didn't go all the way down Broadway, but we got pretty far and then came back. But the thing in my head that it just seemed like walking down a street was like scanning for radio stations on a radio, that is what Broadway is like.
Wow.
You're like just walking by these bars, these live musicians are playing, and one's rock, one's jazz, one's bluegrass, one's country, one's pop, and you're just like listening to each one of these bands. And as soon as you walk just out of distance of the next bar, you're into the sound of the next one that's playing, and it's for some reason it's not clashing with each other. I mean, if you were standing at a distance from it, like in the middle of the street, it might sound like noise, but as you're walking on the sidewalk, it's not. So it's super interesting. And of course, we had to end the stop at a restaurant that we wanted to go to. And my friend's favorite country music artist is Luke Bryan, and he, of course, has his own restaurant in country music capital of the world. So we went there, and it was good. I mean, there was a lot of country music for sure. The kind of country music that bothers me the most is like the really twangy ones. Like really, really, I don't know how to explain it. There wasn't a whole lot of that, so I was pretty good. But it was cool. Like, it was a multi-level restaurant. So we didn't stay on the first level because there was lots of people just like partying and having a good time on the first level. The second level was like quieter, where people were enjoying dinner and stuff like that. So we got a view so that we could see the band playing and eat some dinner, and it was pretty good. All in all, it was a great time, and there was a lot about Elvis there.
That makes sense.
Yeah, so that was cool. We went on a couple tours that mentioned Elvis. I got to actually put my hands on Elvis's favorite piano, which is an RCA Studio B, and stand where he stood in the recording studio every time he recorded a song in that studio, and just learn a lot about, you know, his history and his collaboration actually a couple times with Dolly Parton. And yeah, it was just a lot of music all around. So,
oh shit, my dad would have been real jealous of you.
I was like, I wasn't expecting there to be that much Elvis, but there was a lot about Elvis, and I am quite happy about it. I mean, we had an episode with Elvis impersonator, or former Elvis impersonator, and I talked about the fact that I really love like old rock and roll, like classic rock and roll, and that's a side of music that maybe not so many people are super interested. It's considered kind of like a little bit oldies or whatever, but I like it a lot. So having the Elvis aspects in each one of like the tours and things that we did, it was quite cool. Quite cool to see.
Awesome. That's
yeah.
awesome. Sounds like you had a great trip, and I saw some of the pictures you posted. That was
oh yeah.
some great photo opportunities there as well. So
definitely, it was
very
very much a music and photo trip. So
perfect.
Yeah. Yeah. I just capitalized a lot of I just like took a lot of the time there. Sorry guys.
Yeah, no worries.
No, that's fine.
No worries. I was thinking right at the end there, because I think it's no big secret that none of the four of us really care for country music at all. But when you start talking about Elvis, there's no denying the impact that Elvis had on music as it is today, and probably what a lot of us listen to. Like I love rock and roll. I love heavy metal. I love hair metal, all that stuff. And there's the influence is all there.
Yeah.
And if it wasn't for artists like Elvis, the Beatles, they influenced the Rolling Stones, Led Zeppelin, Black Sabbath. They influenced all of them. And if that hadn't been there, what would have influenced them, and had what music we'll be listening to today if they hadn't have been those groundbreaking acts that they were.
That is such an interesting idea. I don't know if any of you guys have seen the movie Yesterday.
Yes.
Yeah.
If for anybody listening or anybody here, I don't know if you saw it, Sean. It's a very interesting concept where this guy wakes up in a world where the Beatles never existed.
Oh yeah, I heard about that.
Yeah.
Don't hate me, and I'm probably gonna get canceled for saying this, but I fucking hate the Beatles. I think they're garbage.
Well,
I'm on the left field. I will die on that hill. Trust me.
Well, and I don't hate the Beatles. I don't dislike them, but you would never catch me going, "Hey, you know what I want to do? Hand me Sgt. Pepper's. I'm going to put that on." You're never going to happen in my house, but or at least not. My wife might. I will not do that. But then you're also not going to get me. I'm not the guy that's going to go, "Hey, hand me that Pink Floyd album. I'm going to put that on." It's not going to happen. I won't turn it off if it's on the radio, but well, that's not true. I might decide that I want to listen to something different and change stations.
Let's get into the meat and potatoes of this conversation. We've had a great conversation so far, and the intent from my side of the counter here for why we wanted to do this topic was actually inspired by Sean and John from Planet Pointless.
Oh God, no!
Oh God, yes! And it was from your episode, the last episode that you guys did, your overrated and underrated segment. And I highly recommend people go listen to the Planet Pointless podcast because it's great stuff. And listening to it inspires me. And I know they probably don't believe me, but it truly inspires me. And a big reason why I wanted Sean and John to be on this podcast is because of differing views. And I really appreciate for when Sean steps up and says, "I hate the Beatles."
Yeah,
there's nothing wrong with that. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that at all.
And that was the good portion of that episode too. If anybody who if any of you guys listening to this are gonna track back and check out that specific episode, John and I have a very specific taste in music. Now, again, when it comes to like country music, I will die on the hill that I don't like it. It's not for me. I've had so many people play it for me, and it doesn't get any better. Like I can't do it. John, however, is kind of slowly getting into it here and there. He's like, it's not like all bad. So,
well, it's not. That is true.
Yeah, and again, like, music is like any art is subjective. You know what I mean? So it's hard to kind of differentiate what is good and what is bad, right? Like if I'm listening to a dude make danger music, which again, another episode we talked about danger music. It's just people screaming at the top of their lungs, and apparently this is audibly good for people to just funnel into their ears, which is garbage to me, but whatever, it is what it is, right? Art is subjective. So I don't know, for us to just kind of like go on about bullshit and just kind of you know, just give our opinions about how much we hate certain bands and certain genres or whatever, and we kind of decide what's overrated and underrated. It's, you know, it just leaves room for people to just kind of like open their minds and, hey, maybe I should listen to that band, or, you know, maybe I should stay away from them, or, you know, kind of shit like that. So we're not like just throwing our opinions out at people, which what we normally do. But it's you know, sometimes people will, you know, pick up the fork and nibble on it, right? So fuck it.
Totally, absolutely, and I do, because I want to know more. I want to know more music. I'm a music guy. I played the drums. I'm pretty much 24/7 listening to something.
Yeah.
And sadly, 90% of what I listen to is the same stuff I've listened to since I was 14 or 15. You know, like
same here.
One of the things I teach when I teach photography is how photography is so different for each person that wants to be involved in it. It means something different for everybody. And the reason for that is because of the way you're raised and who raises you and what influences hit you during your lifetime. And like certain photos I like because I saw them when I was young with my mom, and that made me feel a certain way. And you know where I'm going with that, right? Like, and music's the same way. Like, I've been around a little bit while longer than both you, Sean and Aurora. Mark and I are close to the same age, and
I think you're a couple of months older than I am.
I might be a month and a day,
maybe a year and a half, or
maybe a minute. I know we're not identical twins, but it's okay. Point being, my introduction to music was at a different time. Like, for example, I remember listening to like when I was a young kid, my older brother and sister were listening to Sean Cassidy and Andy Gibb and the Bee Gees and that kind of era. And if you don't know who these guys are, well, you know the Bee Gees, but Andy Gibb was one of their brothers and he had his own solo career, died young. And Sean Cassidy, his career died, but he's still out there somewhere. Anyway, I'm listening to this music and I'm like, yeah, this is kind of cool. And all of a sudden I hear like Kool and the Gang and I'm like, wow, Celebrate is such a cool tune. Or I hear Pat Benatar, Heartbreaker. And it's like, wow, this is so freaking awesome. The woman playing guitar, she sounds just awesome and raw. And all of a sudden I hear Toto playing Rosanna. And I'm like, oh, this is a whole different level of music. And I'm hearing all these different sounds. And the generation that I'm being introduced to these songs is when all this other crap was out that I didn't like beforehand, all the older music that I didn't like beforehand. And then this new sound comes in and you remember the smell, you remember everything going on around you from that first time you hear that song. So you, for example, Sean, may listen to Toto Rosanna today and think, you know, whatever.
It's not the worst tune, but I mean, there's better Toto songs out there.
They're perfect. That's a great answer. Point being, when you hear that song for the first time, it impacts you differently, right?
Yeah.
Compared to whatever else is out there at the time. So Rush, for me, was that band that taught me how you're introduced to something means everything. The first time I was introduced to Rush I was living in Mississauga, might have been 12, 13 years old. And my neighbor across the street had a bunch of Rush albums on his Clairtone radio. You know, you lift the top up, there's a record player and speakers on the front. Most people use them for TVs for a long time on top of them, and then now they're all gone. Anyway, he had these Rush albums, and they had like the star on the front, moving pictures. You know, they had Exit Stage Left and Signals, and all these crazy album covers that I thought were satanic. I don't know why. They're not. But in my brain, as this little 12, 13-year-old kid, I'm seeing these as like some sort of satanic thing. Like, why would I want to listen to this stuff? I never put an album in. I never listened to it. I just saw the cover and was turned off of it completely. It wasn't until I was living in Vermont, maybe 16 years old, 15 years old, a few years later, that my buddy Jeremy was just listening to some drum music because he's a drummer and I wanted to play the drums. And I'm listening to, you know, YYZ, La Villa Strangiato, and Free Will, and all of these Rush songs that are just like, are you kidding me? This is what music can be? And this is only 3 people? Unbelievable. Forget about the fact that Geddy Lee sounds absolutely disgusting and I can't stand it. But the music is great and the writing was great and I fell in love. Fast forward, my buddy Bill Howlett, working selling car audio, starts telling me about this band called Tool, and I'm like, name like Tool, nah, not interested. They're just a bunch of tools, not interested in it, and I totally discounted it for years. Fast forward again, I'm playing a video game, Unreal Tournament on my computer, and I hear Sober playing in one of these rooms when I'm walking around sniping people. And I'm like, oh, that's a cool tune. And then I hear 46 and 2. And then I see the video for 46 and 2, which is basically just words on the screen. And they're the words to the song. And I was just mesmerized. And I heard these kids play it as a cover, mesmerized even more. And it just hit me. And then I fell in love with Tool. And I never stopped listening to this day. Every minute, every day, I've got Tool playing at least once during the day. And then I saw Planet Pointless episode.
Oh God! Oh no!
And I was
I knew where this was going.
I was marveled. I was flabbergasted. I was beside myself. I was wondering, am I the fool? Am I the idiot? How can I be thinking all this time that I was above average intelligence for listening to a band like Tool? How could I be thinking all this time that musically I was a smarter person because I was listening to this band called Tool? And I could tell I'm smarter because they play music like people can't understand the music. They use math for their music.
Yeah.
And all this stuff that I'm so impressed with. And then I hear the podcast and John just goes off. Fuck Tool. I fucking hate Tool. Anybody who listens to Tool is a fucking idiot. I don't know if he said exactly that.
I think he specifically stated too that you were going to be very upset and you were going to mention something that he said that.
But I'm not upset. I'm actually extremely happy. And the reason for that is because it goes right back to the reason why I invited you guys on this podcast, why I like doing the podcast with different people and from different backgrounds, because I love to learn. I want to know, what is it about the human psyche that can make one person, me in this case, think that this is God's gift to music, and then have another person, and I'm, John, fine, who actually completely disagrees, and he has an opinion based on his life experience, and it's not a wrong opinion. And I was really hoping he'd be here because I really wanted to know, why is it, or how is it, and maybe we can just discuss it, but how is it that one person can feel one way about music and another person can feel another way, completely opposite sides of the spectrum, equally right?
And this happens in bands too. Like, did you guys hear about like the background of Radiohead, the song Creep?
No.
Multiple people in the band like the song, but I think it was a lead guitarist did not like the song Creep. He hated it. And when they were in recording, he decided he was just going to trash the recording for it. And that iconic like guitar that just, it's the Creep.
It's kind of like off-putting. Like it's almost like it's like off tempo and like off beat sort of kind of.
Yes. So he did that on purpose to wreck the recording of the song, and that became the song.
Huh.
Yeah.
So I think that's just super interesting. Like everybody has their own opinion of like what the song is going to be like and how successful that song is going to be, or how much they love the song. And that can even happen in groups of bands of people who are together making music together, and they have a disagreement on the song as well, and that can actually make really interesting music.
For sure. I'd like to know more about the backgrounds and how albums are written and so on. Just to keep on Tool for a quick second, the way they do their music is Danny Carey, the drummer, the bass player, and the guitar player get together and write the music, and then Maynard comes in and adds the lyrics after the fact. And I don't know if you've heard their kind of music, but the feel and the sound of the song and the words have so much connection. You know what I mean? Like, as the music is coming, the words are filling in those gaps. Like 46 and 2 is all about coming to a higher consciousness, looking at your shadow, which some people say your shadow is all your dark energies and the things that you don't want to bring to the surface, like the things about yourself that you don't want to really show the world. whether it's good or bad things. They're your things. They're those things that you keep in your shadow. 46 and 2 is about looking at your shadow and accepting and realizing those bad things and good things about yourself, and then turning that into your next self, coming out of your shadow and becoming, who you're supposed to be. And when you hear those words and you hear the music and you're like, you don't know how people can put that together. It's just some sort of magic that, a band can do that. And the whole math thing. Yeah. It's another one of those things that they're saying, look what I can do. It's like, what was that guy, Stewart? Hey, look what I can do. I could write this crazy song with math. Look what I can do. That's probably what they were doing. But still, that being said, there's so many interesting stories about how bands wrote their music and what worked and what didn't work. But what I want to talk about mainly is ourselves.
Yeah.
What connects with us? Why does it connect with us? What in your life history made you love that song for that moment? And if you guys are cool with that, I don't know if you have anything to add to what I was talking about so far, but if you guys are cool with that, I want to kind of migrate this conversation to about us and what we like and what the reasons why we like it. And that might pin, or a viewer may listen to this back and say, you know what? Yeah, I mean, I did listen to this song back in the day, I hated it, and I should give this another shot, or I should really open my mind up to this kind of music more because he had a really good point about why it connected with him or whatever. So does that sound cool?
Sounds cool. I just want to add to the math piece that you were talking about. It's all a formula, right? When you're writing a song, I mean, there's a formula to it, and producers and promoters have used it forever. And there's depending on the genre of music that you're going for and the audience that you're going for, there's definitely a formula to making a successful song, and they use that formula, and whether it be a combination of a beat, of a type of lyric, or an upbeat lyric or downbeat lyric, all of these things, they use them in conjunction with one another to hit their target audience. Especially like when you look at a lot of bands, like a lot of rock bands that I liked back in the day, they were a bunch of guys that got together, they jammed in dad's garage, and then they sort of came out of the garage and were signed somewhere. Some of them were put together bands by a record promoter. Goes, okay, you guys are great, drummer sucks, drummer's got to go, we're going to put this guy in and you're going to have a successful band. And they do that. And then there's when you talk about boy bands and stuff like your NSYNCs and your Backstreet Boys, those are bands that are put together by a BTS. Record company, right? BTS. They're put together by a record label to sell, for one purpose, to sell records and to get people wild about it. So they use the formula. And there was those two brothers from, was it Sweden, that wrote the hit pop song "What Does the Fox Say?" And they used the formula for writing a song and said, look, I bet we can make this a famous song. And well, they did it, right? With "What Does the Fox Say?"
It's funny you say all that too, because now there's apparently a computer that can write songs. They use the algorithm, and a computer can generate its own music now without even human influence. So
God, absolutely. Judgment Day is coming soon.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, what
Siri, remember, I always said please.
Serious Skynet.
That's right.
Aurora, what connects with you?
What music?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, so much. It's so strange. What you were saying before about how it connects to a particular moment in time, that's in your life. I feel like if you're listening to something and something emotional was going on in your life, or something, you're doing something really fun, or something pretty bad happened and you're listening to a song and the music cheered you up or whatever. I feel like I have this collection of songs and artists and bands that have, I guess, I've collected over time due to, things that were happening in my life, or people who have been in my life, like someone introduced me to them. And then, when I was, asking for something to listen to, or asking for something, or just, feeling sad, and someone's just like, oh, listen to this, or, oh, watch this, or whatever. And even movies too, like movies and TV shows is a big influence as well. Like there's a song that plays in a movie, and it's a very, you know, particularly emotional scene for people. And I guess a good example of that in recent events of movies is Top Gun, right? You're watching Top Gun Maverick, the new Top Gun movie, and you're watching Maverick watch Goose's kid. What's his name? Rooster? I don't know. Goose's kid playing Great Balls of Fire on the piano, and you know, that is an emotional moment, right? Because it's reflecting back to the initial song when Goose played it for his kid. And you know, movies have the power to do that. Music videos have the power to do that. And I feel like if you're listening to something in life and you heard a song on the radio or it popped up or one of your friends sent it to you or whatever, and you're going through a particular thing, happy, sad, good, you know, bad, whatever it is, it sticks out in your mind and you hold on to that, and it becomes one of your favorites. So a lot of the stuff I've connected to has been that. And I mean, I've got quite a range of stuff in my playlist. Like I have Glenn Miller, like big band, jazz music. I've got, but my grandfather always used to listen to that. That was his go-to music, right? So there's a connection to that.
Glenn Miller is my dad listened to Glenn Miller.
Yeah.
And one of my favorite Glenn Miller songs is the one that Glenn Miller hated, Little Brown Jug. He hated that song.
Yeah.
I love it.
Actually, you know which song is a thing for my family? It's Jukebox Saturday Night. It is such a weird song because it goes through so many different like kinds of, I don't know how to explain it, but one day we were all in the car, we were listening to this song, and you know, something happened. I can't remember what it was, but we forgot that it happened, and we're listening to this song, and we're kind of like singing along to it, and we're laughing at how like different it is and the transitions from one thing to another, and now it's become a thing. Like whenever I'm with my mom, my two siblings, that song goes on in the car, and you know, we're singing along to it, and we're just having a good time. And it's because of that. So yeah, it's just one of those things. Like you have these moments, and
totally.
Yeah. Like there's a ton of Glenn Miller songs I love. But you know, that's just one that sticks out in my mind. I do like Little Brown Jug as well.
Yeah.
As you're talking about all these things, my mind is going to certain songs. Like you started off saying how, you know, a certain mood make you listen to a certain song, and it reminded me of when I first moved to Canada and Joey was out. Joey, I forget who sings that. Four Non Blondes or no?
No, I think you're right.
Is it? Anyway, that song came out and it was just so moody, and I was living on my own for the first time, and I was, you know, it just, that stuck with me, and probably if I was at any other point in my life, I wouldn't have liked the song much at all. And then you started talking about how movies, and of course, my first thought is Axel F from the old Eddie Murphy, Beverly Hills Cop. Exactly. My mother got me the 12-inch record of Axel F. I love that song so much in the theaters.
Yeah.
And then Knight's Tale is the soundtrack for me. Yeah. And it has a lot of like classic rock in it, but
yes, you
know, I'm on the younger side. I told this to Brian, I can't remember when, but that was my introduction to Taking Care of Business by Bachman Turner Overdrive. That movie, that soundtrack. Yeah. And you know, for some people, they listened to it when it came out and they were like super in love with the song. For me, it was that movie that did it for me. So
yeah, it's amazing though how a movie can resurrect a song or a band from it. And I remember when Wayne's World came out.
Oh yeah, I
was working nights.
Dreamweaver.
And I was giving a coworker a lift home, and he says, "Oh, can we pick up my brother and give him a lift home too?" And so him and his brother and his brother's friend get in the back of my car, and we're driving, and Bohemian Rhapsody comes on the radio, and his little brother turns to his friend and goes, "Oh, that's that new song by that new band called Queen." And I go, "Oh my God!" Like I am just so old at this point, and I was, I don't know, like 24 at the time.
Yeah.
So it was about, 5 years ago. So you were almost right. It was Concrete Blonde that did Joey.
Concrete Blonde. Thank you. That's right.
No, you make a valid point though. Like with the movies, like for me, it's sometimes like movies turn me on to like newer music, right? So the Daniel Craig James Bond movies, like you know how they have like those elaborate, like long ass, like super well thought out and well edited like intros to the James Bond movies. So the Daniel Craig ones, my personal favorite. People can hate me for it all they like. I don't care. Yeah. Now, I'm not a big fan of a lot of the people that did the music for them, except Adele. Big Adele fan. I look like a guy who listens to a bunch of, grungy crackhead music, but like I enjoy Adele. Okay. Adele is my sad music. It gets me in my feels. Don't hate me. But
there's nothing wrong with Adele.
I would marry that woman in a heartbeat. Oh, good Lord. Sing me to sleep every night. I don't care. Oh, gorgeous woman. But yeah, no, like that one song from Casino Royale that Chris Cornell did. That one to me was like, I don't know, what the fuck am I listening to? Like it's the weirdest song. I wasn't really like a big fan of it. And then I think the next one was what's that one guy? Sam Hunt or whatever his name is. Sam Smith. That's the one. Sam Smith. And then it was Adele. There was one with Alicia Keys, and then Billie Eilish did the intro song for No Time to Die. So me not being a big fan of Billie Eilish, I was like, okay, well, I want to watch the movie. I just don't want to have to listen to the song. But the opening credits to that movie were like, it was the greatest song I've ever listened to in my entire life. Like I had it on repeat for an entire day, just playing it over and over and over again, just the one song. Like it was brilliant. So for me, it's like certain movies will give me like new music taste. Like it's the weirdest thing. Like movies can just. Well, I watch a lot of movies too, so it messes with my brain and my music taste like on a regular.
Well, a really good example of a show or a movie reinventing a song is Stranger Things and Running Up That Hill, Kate Bush.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That song is in the last season that was just released of Stranger Things so many times. And it was used as, like a trend on TikTok, Instagram, any sort of real video that you see out there. And I had never heard that song before.
Me neither.
Before that movie and, the show, the first scene that it was in. And I think it started at the very beginning. And the message behind it too, I don't know how many people have watched Stranger Things and how music can kind of like ground you. And I'm not going to spoil anything if you haven't watched it, but music can kind of ground you and bring you back and help you through difficult things is one of the topics that we're actually kind of talking about. And the show kind of touches on that with that song and, the particular person that listens to it. And I guess a lot of people connected with that. And also the song too. Yeah. So just
and it's interesting how the Stranger Things did that for two songs because the second one was Master of Puppets from Metallica.
Oh, yes. So good.
And it suddenly had a whole new demographic of people going, wait a minute, like in high school they wouldn't have listened to Metallica. They're like, oh, that's heavy metal bangers, they're stupid, blah blah blah. And now they're like, oh, that actually is a pretty decent song because they heard it on the show. So it's interesting that two artists had sort of, I mean, not that Metallica had gone away, but for some people I guess they had with their newer stuff. But it was interesting how they both artists ended up with a new resurgence of fans.
Yeah.
Quick question, actually, and this is for all of you guys because Aurora made a good point with how music can like bring you out of a rock and a hard place there. Now, me specifically, so my dad was a huge fan of Elvis, huge, had the plates, had the hat, he was big on Elvis. And I remember when I used to go visit him. Every now and then he would always put on the Spin Out record. Remember when Elvis did that movie Spin Out with like he was racing the cars and whatever? Or am I the only guy who's young enough to remember?
No, I know that movie.
Okay, so he used to sing me this song. I believe it was off that album called "Stop, Look, and Listen."
Oh yeah, yeah.
So brilliant song. And he used to. I know the whole thing word for word, and this is just him singing it to me. And like every, and it's about once a year. I'll like play it in the car. Like I have the spin out record. I put it on, and I play it, and I can sing every word on every track. Like it's weird, right? But on those specific days of the year when I listen to those songs and Elvis in general, that shit, like, it basically keeps me from making choices that I shouldn't be making, bad ones obviously, but at the end of the day it levels me out mentally where I can just be calm and chill. It helps me process certain feelings and certain emotions, but like it's brilliant that like music, especially Elvis, like who would have fucking thought, but that sometimes like that certain song or album, whatever, can like just flick a switch in your brain and just like, hey, I feel better now. So I'm curious, what's that like one song or like one album that like gets you guys out of a fucking mental filth?
Oh man.
It's a tough question. It's a hard question.
And it's funny as it sounds, and I'm assuming I think Brian has probably heard of the band Aurora. Sean, I don't know that you would have heard of the band. You might have, but you might not know anything by them. The band is called Cinderella, and they had an album called Night Songs. It was their first album. And I can, at any point in time, put that on, and it takes me back to a time, like it was released in the 80s. I was in high school, but it's a solid album. Tom Kiefer, the guy that formed Cinderella, he was a master of sort of like it was rock and roll, but it was heavily, heavily blues influence, like with a lot of slide guitar and whatnot in it. And to this day, listening to Cinderella is just one of those. It's a grounding experience for me, that it takes me back to a simpler time and takes me back to a time when you thought you had problems, but you really didn't. But it can really just sort of almost like a reset button, and like, okay, we're good, and let's go. And I probably burned out 4 Night Songs cassette tapes. I've got it on album. I have it on CD. It's a great album from start to finish. There isn't a bad song on it. And I had actually, it was funny. They opened for, I don't think my friend watches the show, but we went to see Cinderella. They opened for David Lee Roth after he left Van Halen on the Eat 'Em and Smile tour. So it was like David Lee Roth's band was huge ego on the stage. Like it was Greg Bissonette,
Billy Sheehan,
Steve Vai, Billy Sheehan, like they were David Lee Roth, all those huge egos. And Cinderella was every bit as good and every bit as energetic as David Lee Roth's band was on the stage. And they had like this, was a big thing in the 80s where the guitar would be playing or the bass would be playing, and they would stop and throw it over their shoulder, and then it would spin back around on the strap, and they'd catch it and keep playing, right? But Cinderella had this thing where they would even do it backwards. They'd grab the headstock, flip it backwards, and it would come around backwards. They'd catch it, keep playing. And it was just, we were at this, and this is where the memories come flooding back, and I'm got verbal diarrhea now about it, but where our seats were at, of course, Maple Leaf Gardens in Toronto, we were at the side of the stage, and we were like about, I don't know, 6 rows up at the side of the stage. So like literally where the risers were on the side, we were level with the artists when they were right there. And I just remember Jeff LeBar standing there from Cinderella. He's passed away, but he's standing there, and I swear, like everybody will say the same thing, but I swear to God, he looked right at my friend and I, threw his guitar over his shoulder, caught it, spun it back the other way, caught it, kept playing, and then he like this big spin down off the riser, and off he went. But for that 1 second, he was playing for me. Yeah. And those are the memories. And that's probably one of those. It's a core memory. It's probably why I like the band so much. Like the rock and blues helps as well. But I had such a great time at that concert. And it was, and again, it gets better because it was Halloween night. We saw a guy in a gorilla costume get knifed. We guards bleeding out all over the place. My friend and I are like, let's get out of here. But it was just an awesome night, except if you were the guy in the gorilla costume.
I was going to say, don't wear a gorilla suit to a concert. That's probably
he was outside afterwards, but it was just an amazing show, and that's where those memories come from. But yeah, I've got like a list. I don't know if you could rhyme them off of your top 5 concerts you've ever been to, but some of them you'd look at me and go, really, that's one of your top 5? But yeah, that's it.
Wow, that's cool.
That's awesome.
Aurora?
That's a thought.
Oh man, there's so many different ones. Like, concerts do make a difference, for sure. Like if you've gone and seen them live and like, a particular thing happens while the song is playing. Like one for me was like, I really like the Arkells or Canadian Hamilton, they're from Hamilton band. They have an interesting sound. And I've gone to see them 3 or 4 times with Andrew, but one time it was like an outdoor concert and it started raining and they decided to switch their set list to one of their songs called A Little Rain. Basically the song is A Little Rain Isn't Gonna Get Me Down kind of thing. They started saying that, and that's, again, like one of those core memories. They had like a little conversation with the crowd and said, hey, let's sing this. This is it's a perfect time to do so. And everybody was out there singing along to the song, and the rain was coming down and people didn't care.
Nice.
They were just having fun type of thing. It happened again at another concert. When I went to the X, I got to go see the Walk Off the Earth. Also another Canadian group. I love them a lot. And I saw them at the CNE and it started raining and I can't remember exactly what song it was, but like the entire concert was just amazing. And through the entire concert, it was raining and people didn't care because they were just having fun. They were listening to the band and the whole time it was raining, but no one left. No one stopped listening. No one stopped singing along. No one stopped, swaying to the music. It was just everybody was there to see them, and that was quite awesome. There is a song you guys won't know the band. I don't think they're called Relient K. You know Relient K?
Sadly, yes.
What? You know Relient K? I am shocked.
What's the song?
I am shocked. I'm actually shocked. The song High of 75. They're a Christian rock band.
Yep, that explains it. Yep.
So my cousin, growing up, my mom was like very religious, and that kind of thing. And my cousins and my aunt and uncle were also, and still are also, extremely religious. So my cousins had like this like huge range of Christian rock bands and stuff like that they introduced us to and got us listening to. And realistically, they don't really sing a whole lot about God or religion or anything like that. It's just clean music. Like, it's not talking about sex. It's not talking about drugs. It's not talking about that kind of thing. But it's, just like clean rock music kind of thing. And this band, Relient K, was one of those bands that I was allowed to listen to over things like the Spice Girls and Britney Spears and stuff like that, because my mom didn't want me to be a, 10-year-old girl listeing to Britney Spears talking about,
she didn't want you to be a DJ.
Yeah. So, so Relient K was one of those bands, and the song High of 75 is one of those songs that I'll still listen to. And it's very much about emotions. It's about kind of like mental health and a little bit about that kind of thing. I don't know. Read the lyrics, listen to the song. It's about emotions going up and down and feeling some certain kind of way throughout the day. But if you make the decision to, in some cases, if you make the decision to enjoy your life and and be happy, and you have the right kind of people around you. You can feel like you're sunny and high with the high of 75 kind of thing. So it's relating that to weather and feeling nice. So yeah, it's an up kind of song, and I'll still listen to it today because it cheers me up sometimes.
Yeah. Me and you are in the same boat, dude. Fucking
Yeah.
my mom's a huge Bible thumper, so like not being able to listen to a lot of music kind of sucked. But now that I'm older and I listen to like Slayer and Pantera and Megadeth and all that other shit, my mom hates it. Yeah, my mom absolutely hates it. Like I wore a Slayer T-shirt to Christmas one year, and she like yelled at me like in front of my face. Like, it was bad.
So with me, my mom wasn't like super like that, but I don't want to go into it too much, but I did have people in my family who were like that a lot, and were very, like super religious and stuff like that. And my mom, yes, she was religious, and she didn't want me to listen or watch certain things, but now like she's not like that at all. And I guess as you get older and things change, like she doesn't matter as much. But sorry to hear about that.
No, it's part of life, man. Fuck
yeah. It's funny because my parents didn't have a lot to say about what I listened to as a child. They didn't really care, as long as we didn't play it too loud when they were home. I had the big stereo in my bedroom that just kept expanding and expanding. With I had the full equalizer, speakers everywhere, the whole bit, CD players, record players, tape decks. I had it all. But it was funny. My dad had the good record player, and what I used to do is I'd buy something on vinyl, and then I would rip it to CD off the vinyl. And a lot of my albums that I still have them, have only been played once because or twice. So I'd wear out the tape and then record it to another tape so that I could take it in the car or whatever. But I bought the 12-inch single from a band called Wasp, and the song was
Anglo-Saxon Protestant. Yeah, isn't that what they're named after?
No, I think it was We Are Sexual Perverts. I think.
Oh,
it was the song Animal. The chorus was I Fuck Like a Beast. And so I'm in the living room with my mom is there on the couch, and I'm recording it to a tape. And my mom's sitting there, and she's just doing what mom did, sitting there smoking or whatever. And all of a sudden she just stops and she goes, "Did he just say fuck?" Yeah, mommy did. Huh. That was the extent of it. Like they didn't care. But I think we talked. I'm not even sure. I'm sure I've had this conversation a couple of times lately, especially with cancel culture being a big thing. Everybody's offended, and we're going to get this canceled and whatnot. Where in the 80s there was Tipper Gore and the PMRC that tried to shut down all the music, and the more they tried to shut it down, the more the kids wanted to listen to it. So it was a very epitome of the plot of the movie Footloose, right? You can't dance, so the kids are going to go find somewhere to dance. And it was the same way with the music in the 80s when they were trying to shut it down, and parental warning with explicit lyrics on an album cover. And it just made us want to. Right?
I mean, the same thing with Elvis. Like, if you've seen the new Elvis movie or anything about Elvis's backstory, lots of people thought he was like satanic and stuff with his dance moves and
scandalous. Absolutely scandalous.
Yeah.
They only filmed him from the waist up.
Yeah, they wouldn't film his hips moving. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
And then what was the they had Rage Against the Machine on a talk show.
Yep.
And when they played Killing in the Name of, and they weren't allowed to have the swearing part.
Oh, that was on BBC. Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah.
So they sang that one part, and then he let it go, and they actually had to cut the whole broadcast off.
Yeah, like they're literally in the middle of it, and where he was supposed to change the lyrics, he looked dead in the camera and went, "Fuck you, I won't do it." And
oh my god!
They cut it right away because he's like, "You're not gonna," But I think even the Rolling Stones, it was the song "Let's Spend the Night Together." They made Mick Jagger change the lyrics to "Let's Spend Some Time Together" so they could air it on TV because it was just so scandalous to sing that, but it was coming through the airwaves on radios anyway. Who cares, right? But that's what I like. I listen to satellite radio in the car, and they play the unedited versions, and the DJs are swearing. And I mean, it's not a swear fest. It's like this conversation, there's the odd F-bomb and the odd, shit comes out and whatnot. But
unless I'm like talking too much, because that usually comes out quite a bit.
Yeah.
Well, my camera kind of died there. My internet shut off, so I had to. I'm streaming from my phone now, just so I can keep up.
All right.
But,
that's good.
It's interesting. There's so many. You guys are talking and answering Sean's question, and I'm making notes about all the different things that I could possibly say. And core memory, very important. Certain music is going to, stick with you based on certain things. But it's really the moments around the songs that are influencing us, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
The song is secondary in a lot of cases.
Yeah.
It's the moment that's happening around that song.
The event.
I remember when I first moved back to Canada, way back, I think I was 12 at that point. My aunt sent me an album. She lived in Israel. It was a Hebrew album, and it was clear. It was a clear album. You guys know what I'm talking about. I thought it was the coolest thing. I'd never seen a clear album before. So I'm listening to this, and I listened to that album all the time. And I memorized it. I have no idea what they were saying. It was all Hebrew, but I guarantee you I could probably sing it right now if I wanted to crack everybody's ears, but I'm not going to. But it's one of those fallback things that you remember, right? Like something that was really important to you. I would never listen to Hebrew music, and yet this song or this album was really cool. When you said, what songs do you listen to get rid of your mental filth? My first thought is Enigma. I listen to that Enigma Sadness album pretty much every night before I go to sleep. Just kind of chills me down. Mm-hmm. Just something I can listen to when I wake up in the middle of the night. It's still playing, and I know that there's just some sound going. It's really nice. When I'm mowing the lawn, Linkin Park, Numb. Great album, great song. The album Enema from Tool. My favorite album, by the way, from Tool is their newest one, Pneuma, Fear Inoculum.
Yeah, Fear Inoculum.
What they're saying is just ridiculous. But Enema, in the song Enema, if you listen to the words, he's basically spelling out, and this is I don't even know how old that album is now, 20 years old or something. Maybe it's old. It's been around a minute. He's basically spelling out all the things that are happening in our world as we speak today, like the storms coming back, Mother Nature coming to reclaim, learn to swim, like all of these things. And I listen to that, and it gets me every single time. I was listening to it in the car today, and it reminded me of it. And I was like, holy shit, these guys are writing some stuff then that people should have been listening to. And there's a lot of that. Like I used to listen to a lot of Sting, and the lyrics work the Black Seam. Some of the songs that he's written are very poignant to other things that are going on in the world that nobody listens to, and doesn't change anything. And it's frustrating for me because you'd think that with music, it would change things more, right? Like even Michael Jackson with We Are the World. I mean, that did a lot of stuff for the world. They raised a lot of money. But if you look at Ethiopia and you look at all the places that they were trying to help and all the things that they were trying to do back then, they're just as bad today.
Yeah.
So it's frustrating. Music should do a lot more than it does with how important it is. But I think really when it comes down to it, music is just that thing for us individually to, like Sean says, clear out the mental filth, give us a little bit of enjoyment in this crazy ass world that we're living in these days. And all these moments that we've talked about on the show tonight really prove how important it is for us to listen to music. Doesn't matter what the music is. Just find new songs, find new things that get you interested and motivate you and inspire you. As a drummer, I do that in air quotes that you can't see because my camera's overheated.
There we go.
Thank you. As a drummer, there's certain music I'll listen to over any other kind of music just because there's a good beat. Tool, Danny Carey, one of the best drummers of all time. Rush, Neil Peart, one of the best drummers of all time. Police, Stuart Copeland. Pretty much any. Yes, all these guys, the music that I listen to, if you look at their music, they're pretty much just drummer music,
Yeah. So that actually brings up a really interesting point, because I was just thinking as you're talking, what is it about the music that we listen to that drives us to it? Like when you hear a new song, when you go, oh, love that tune, what is it about the tune? And for you, it probably starts with a drum beat.
Beats,
for me, it's got to have a good riff, a good guitar riff. So, because I'm a guitar player, I'm not a musician by any stretch of the imagination. I'm just a guy that owns one too many guitars. It's got to be a good riff. Like there are so many great guitar players, guitar artists out there that come up with these sick riffs that just I hear it and I'm like, love it, love that riff. I mean, there's a long line of amazing guitarists that come up with these riffs, and one of them that comes to mind, George Lynch from the band Dokken and Lynch Mob back in the 80s and the 90s. Amazing guitar player. I just heard he's actually doing through his Patreon for $10 a month. You can take guitar lessons with George Lynch. So, am I going to sign up? Yeah.
Nice.
That's awesome.
Like George Lynch is going to teach me how to play guitar. I'm like, okay.
Sign me up.
Yeah,
$10 a month. Come on.
So Sean Aurora, what is it that for you to first be interested in a song to go, I like this tune? What is it? What is it about the song?
Aurora first.
Oh my goodness.
There has to be a country twang to it.
Oh.
My dog left me with my beer. And my truck is on empty again.
You're too good at that, Mark.
God damn. Oh man.
Wait, Sean, are your ears bleeding?
Yeah, a little bit. A little bit.
There you go.
For
I like to
me-
listen to country backwards. Yeah.
Oh, it's kind of hard
Oh,
to
no.
say.
Get your truck and your dog back that way.
Yeah, there you go. Brian's just getting that now.
I'm slow,
But-
but satisfied.
There you go. There, see, now it's all circling back.
Full circle. Have a good night, everyone.
No, we gotta wait for Aurora and Sean to answer the question still.
Oh man. So for me, it's kind of hard to pinpoint it. I would say like the emotion behind whatever it is. Like if the music is passionate enough about it, I guess, or whatever topic it is, I'm into it more.
Yeah.
I like it more. If I'm feeling a particular emotion, I want to listen to a song that makes me feel that particular emotion even more. You know, if I'm going through something sad, I want to listen to something more sad. So I feel like it's the emotion.
Yeah.
And also, I guess, I do have an appreciation for lyrics because, you know, I did like sing for a good chunk of my life. Just more for like a fun type of thing for me. So I guess lyrics is a big one for me as well. And guitar a bit too. Like I did learn how to play guitar, and I still do have a guitar. I don't really play it that much anymore, but that's also a big one. But I would say emotion is the first, and like I guess lyrics would be the second for me. Yeah. How about you?
Oh, that's a good call. I agree with the emotion thing. That's a solid point. Certain songs, like I know, like certain music for me, I have a different playlist for like any mood that I'm in, which is really weird. So, and John knows this about me too. Like, whenever I go and pick him up from somewhere, he can judge and kind of gauge what kind of mood I'm in by what is playing by the time he gets in the car. So, like, he can kind of like understand. He's like, okay, like Sean's listening to Slayer today. He's pissed off. Like, what happened, right? Or I've said this on the podcast on Planet Pointless a bunch of times too. I was like, when I start sharing Adele music to like my social media, someone check on me. Like, this is when I'm like sad. I'm sad. But her last album was good. I had to share that shit. It was fantastic. Anyways, it's besides the fact.
I never would have pegged you for Adele.
Oh man, no,
Adele is really good.
I don't
it's
like
fantastic.
her. I
Yeah.
don't. I think she sounds so bland.
It's okay. Music is
Wow.
subjective. We're fine.
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
We're still friends.
Music is subjective. Everybody has their own taste, but what?
It's funny. My mother's.
Well,
a
it's the same
barbershop
thing, I
chorus.
guess, with Tool, because I haven't really listened to Tool except for the stuff that you played. Like,
It's very subjective. Very.
Yeah.
My mother is a
Yeah.
barbershop chorus singer. She was a vocal coach. She my whole life has been surrounded by barbershop chorus, 4-part harmony, that kind of stuff. And I remember when she told me she thinks Whitney Houston was a shitty singer because she screams. And I was like, wow, And I started listening to Whitney Houston, and I'm like, yeah, okay, she kind of does, And sometimes you have to kind of open your eyes to something a little different. But no, Adele, she's a very good singer, and there's a couple songs that I like, but in general, I think she's kind of.
I just posted to our chat there an Adele song it's a cover of an Adele song by one of my favorite artists. So give it a listen to. Give it a listen
I'm
to.
gonna have to check that out.
Oh, is it the? Oh, I think I know who it is.
Yeah, it's a little heavier than Adele does it. But,
what's the name of the artist?
Leo Morcioli.
Yeah,
from
Dan Sure has like a bunch of his songs on his.
Oh yeah, he's great.
Yeah.
But no, I agree with Robin on the Robin.
I
keep going with Robin. It's the black hair.
Again with the Robin.
The black hair.
That's the black hair.
She's not even sitting on the stair.
She's a whole different person now, man.
With the hair,
Fuck.
I know.
God damn it, Aurora. I agree with Aurora. God damn. I'm sorry, Aurora.
It's okay.
We know you know her name, and it says it right there.
I'm out of it. No, the emotion thing makes sense, but me, you guys know I got that big subwoofer in the trunk of my car, right? So anything that vibrates the chest jungle is pretty good.
Yeah,
love car audio. Miss car audio so much.
That's it. Actually, one of my favorite songs to play loud in my Trans Am, because I've got the big subwoofer in that as well, is "One" by Metallica.
Oh yeah,
or "Hot for Teacher" by Van Halen.
Oh,
because it's got that Harley intro, like the drums sound like a Harley.
Yeah,
I just listened to that before the show today.
Yeah, that's why when we were on the first time, when John and I were on for the first episode there, and you asked us what our jam was.
Yeah.
I told Brian immediately, I was like, "Hot for Teacher," and that's the main reason why, because like I blast that shit, and it makes me want to just mat my gas pedal. Like I just want to put it through the floor.
Yeah.
Oh, music makes you do crazy things. Music inspires you in so many different ways. It influences you in so many different ways. You mentioned that Christian rock band. I was kind of thinking, hindsight is 2020. I mean, earlier today, the Christian people came to my door and I just ignored them. I probably should have answered the door and asked them for some music tips, because I need some good tunes. Anyway, there's just so many different cool songs out there. And I don't know about you guys, but I have a really bad habit of having songs loop in my head. When Shelly and I were off the past week, we're driving up north, and all of a sudden just random songs pop in my head, and I'd tell her, and she'd be like, "What the fuck is wrong with you? Where are these songs coming from? I hadn't even heard a song for 30 years, and it just pops into my head." And so whenever this happens to me and I can't get a song out of my head, I always go back to Rock Around the Clock. From like Happy Days. I think it was on Happy Days. Yeah. So when I was a kid, Happy Days was on all the time, and the Rock Around the Clock, it came into my memory, and it's just one of those songs that no matter what song is stuck in my head, if I start singing Rock Around the Clock, I can't even remember what the other song was.
So, it clears the earworm.
Yeah, totally clears the earworm.
Yeah.
But music is
Happy
awesome.
Days.
That was great.
It's a great show.
So, Sean, I have a question for you, and this is actually more of a question for John. I want to know, what song does John like as much as I like, or what band does he like as much as I like Tool? So I could hear what is so.
I think I can answer that. I think John likes the Wiggles. He's not here to defend himself, so
that's not nice.
He's in his bathroom right now, like just taking a dump, and he's just saying fruit salad, yummy, yummy, every 5 minutes. Oh my god damn! I just figured that's the
Baby
prime
Shark.
time to sing that.
Oh, that's awesome.
Baby Shark.
Oh my god, man! To answer that on John's,
you know why I'm asking the question, right? Like, if I could like something so much that he hates so much, what does he like so much, and would I hate it that much?
You know, it's a tough call, because like him as a musician and one of my best friends, my best friend, he's really like shaped my music taste the last few years, and it's tough to say, because I know that like whenever he calls me up and says, "Hey, I'm going to the show, do you want to come with me?" he'll list off the bands, and one or two of them I'll know, and I'll be like, fuck yeah, let's go. So we recently, I think I mentioned this the last episode we recorded, we went to Dinosaur Jr. So me and him were hyped because neither of us have ever seen Jay Mascis in the flesh. Like, to see him was like watching God do miracles on the hills of Jerusalem, like straight up. He's a wizard, that guy. He's brilliant. Dinosaur Jr. and Jay Mascis just on his own are brilliant. But to answer on his behalf, and he's probably going to listen back to this and like, he's going to tear me a new one, guaranteed. But I know that
he tears me one first.
Oh no! Come on, that fruit salad thing was funny, man. Come on, that was good. It got Aurora really good. That's a laugh I haven't heard from Aurora ever. That's a good one.
There you go. My job here is done. Good night.
Exactly. I'm gonna have to say, I can't remember the specific album title. Oh no, I know the album. Okay, so we listen to it all the time. So whenever I pick up John, if he's like just piss loaded, I'm picking him up from a work party or somewhere in the city, or like just a regular house party or whatever. If I pick him up, immediately we go to it's an album called Fury and the Fallen Ones by The Ghost Inside. It's screamo, it's like hardcore, but the amount of shake that I have in the car when we're like physically moshing to this music, like I have a headache by the time I drop them off at home. That album, start to finish, is if you're like me, you love music that you just want to beat the shit out of brick walls to.
You want to break stuff, yeah.
Exactly. You want to, as Henry Rollins would say, fuck on the floor and break shit. So that album for him and me, mainly for him, is like we just get so into it. It's like it attacks you in a mental way, in a good mental way, obviously, but like it gets you in a physical kind of like state where you just want to like throw your arms as wild and as fast as you can, as hard as possible, without caring what you hit.
Yeah.
It just gives you that moment where you could just be free for like that 3 or 4 minutes of just screaming and drumming and guitar riffs and solos and whatever. The breakdowns, we get right into it. So it's the whole album. We shred it the entire time.
Is The Ghost Inside. What's the album?
Fury and the Fallen Ones. It's going to be one of those like types of music where you're going to listen to it and be like, what the fuck am I listening to? But then again, we can circle back to this as many times as possible, but music is subjective, and it's just whatever floats the boat, right? Like whatever gets your blood flowing and whatever gets you, awake enough to get up and like want to move around, like anything that forces you to dance and or freak the fuck out or mosh or whatever is good music, no matter who says it's shitty music or whatever, right?
Even country.
No, they're still wrong.
Well, no, but John makes a point, right? When I've talked to him about this so many times, where I'm just like, I hate country, I won't do it. I will die on that hill, no problem. But he says, you know what? Like it all depends on the person, right?
Yeah.
And we all listen to different music. I mean, I love a lot of the shit that Brian listens to. Love Rush. Love the shit that Mark listens to. Aurora, I'm starting to understand that me and her have the same kind of music taste, right? But everybody has that same kind of music where they can just kind of go back on and be like, oh, you like this too? This is good. I like this. And then there's other music where you just be like, I want to hit you for playing this in my car.
Off.
So I'm just gonna burn my car right now. Just blow it up.
That they say in Supernatural, driver picks the music, passenger shuts his pie hole.
Yep. The amount of times I've said that to somebody and I've nearly caught a right hook from the hand of God, that was even in my own car, I can't play my own fucking music anymore. It's ridiculous.
It's amazing though, right? It's music, and I mean, we've been going here for an hour and a half. And we could probably go easy for another hour and a half, except I I need to use the little boys' room. So,
Okay, so
it's one of those topics that you can just talk forever and a day.
Okay.
And we've had a lot of great musicians on the show. We've had cast members, like we've had the All the Days producer. They do the musicals. We had Dan Preston on. I'm trying to think now. Oh, I think he's out with Finger 11 now. He was out with JJ Wild and all these, like 3 Days Grace. He did all those bands. We had the Scatterbrains on.
Wow.
We had Aurora, your cousins, John and John.
James and John.
James and John. We had
That
them
would
on.
be very confusing if they were twins and they're
We had James and John, right?
same parents, twins.
I don't know. I was just going on the whole Sean and John thing.
Episode 2, we had Mike.
We've had a lot of talent with Mike. We had so it's been
The
great.
Lizard Gizzard song. I actually listened to that song.
King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
But,
That was his jam. I'd never heard it before, and I listen to that now a lot.
Yeah, I haven't listened to it since, but yeah, I did listen to it once. But no, it's music is great. It's just it's a common language around the world.
It is.
It really is. Now, on that point, and the fact that we have gone on for almost an hour and a half, I'm going to close this off. Usually we have our 3 questions. I'm going to have one question for you guys. I'm going to start with the answer, my own answer. What will you not listen to? Like, we kind of joked about country, but give me a specific. Is there something that you cannot listen to? For me, that's Bollywood. I mean, country there's some good and some bad. I've gone on some road trips before. We've listened to some country. Got Friends in Low Places is always a good tune. Stuff is okay sometimes, but I cannot handle Bollywood because there's fluctuations in the tone of the voices that hit a nerve in my head. I'm trying to. My head is about to explode just thinking about it. The stuff that goes on, and I'll be honest, with some indigenous singing as well is the same kind of fluctuations of tones that I can't handle that high pitch singing with the tones and the this and the that. So for me, that would be my absolute big no. Mark, what about you?
Tragically Hip, can't do it.
A lot of people feel that way.
Interesting.
Worst band on the planet, and I don't want to speak ill of the dead, but Gord Downie, dude, take a singing lesson. Like,
okay, so he couldn't sing, but it was the experience of his concerts that people fell in love with, right? The live experience of the hip playing is what people fell in love with.
I did. I was doing security. I had to endure 2 nights of the Phantom Powers tour at Maple Leaf Gardens. Worst. I did 2 nights of NSYNC. It was better than the Tragically Hip.
Do not let Sean Gibson hear this episode of the show.
Worse. Not one band worse than the Tragically Hip. And yes, I will die on that hill.
Oh my goodness. Okay. I did not know you had such strong feelings about the Tragically Hip.
We should call this the Die on That Hill episode.
Yeah, exactly. When we're off air, I will tell you the stories of when I met Gord Downie. So we'll go from there.
God.
Interesting.
Yeah, off air. Sean, how about you?
Actually, quick question. Do you mind if I issue a challenge? Because I know we do the challenges too, and I kind of want to issue one at the end of the episode, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Cool. I'll do that later. But the one thing I won't listen to. Fuck. Damn, that's a good question. What would I not listen to?
It can't be Baby Beluga. I mean, I'm sure you listened to it when you were a kid.
Baby Shark.
Just like leave the kid music alone.
Damn, what won't I touch? This is gonna be a half here, but I will never, if anybody even so much as even mentions, hey, I'm gonna play Linkin Park in your car, or I'm gonna play the Beatles in your car, I'm gonna leave them wherever the fuck my car's parked. I don't care.
Good to know.
I'm gonna leave you stranded in the desert. You die here.
You're dying on your own hill. Perfect.
I'm gonna stay in my AC car. I don't care. Just bye. Get the fuck away from me.
That's awesome.
Interesting.
Driver picks the tunes, passenger shuts his pie hole.
Exactly. This is a solid rule. I'm sticking to it. It sucks. The only person who's ever allowed the auxiliary cord in my car is John, and that is it. That's where I draw the line.
High honors for him. High honors. All right. Aurora, how about you?
It is country music. There's a song, I don't know what the name of the country music song is, but it's talking about a woman who's dressed in camo and she looks like a sexy tree.
What the
And
fuck?
I don't even never.
What in the banana nut fuck is that?
The only reason why I was introduced to this is because many people in my family also don't like country music, and there's this YouTuber, I think his name is Curtis Connor or something like that. Curtis Connors, whatever. He did this like country music reaction videos, and one of the songs in the video that he was making fun of was this song. So if anybody ever plays that in my car, I'm just like, I'm gonna kick them out. That's not okay. I also really don't like the "Buy Me a Boat" country music song, which is so twangy, just so.
Buy me a
and
boat.
"Buy Me a Boat" and a truck to pull it are the lyrics, but
That's
can't.
physically taxing to listen to.
Yes. So it is
Oh,
country
shit.
music for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree
I
with that.
can't.
Yeah, I agree. As a genre, the country music. I mean, there's when Chris and I got married, the DJ, we had that meeting, and he said, "Okay, is there anything we can't play?" And Chris and I looked at him. I said, I looked him right in the face. I said, "If you play country music, you do not get paid." And he literally high-fived me. Like, yes!
Oh boy.
It was awesome. It was awesome.
Yeah.
And he says, "Now, what if somebody requests it?" I said, "If somebody requests it, you vet it through the best man." And the best man said no to every country song.
Wow.
Smart man.
I don't have a problem with some country songs. Like I like some of the ones that lean more towards pop or lean more towards rock than country. Like I'm okay with those ones, but the ones that are super twangy and there's stupid topics about boats and trucks and beer
fishing with my best bud and my dog.
Yeah.
Cakes of bush
I
light.
can't.
I feel like with the hatred that I have for country music, at this rate, I'm gonna die alone. That's just how that's gonna work.
It's
That's just
karma.
Sorry, there'll be four of us on that hill, John.
Yeah.
This is where we're gonna be.
You know, it's funny. For my wedding, we said no Celine Dion and no Macarena, and they both played. So,
Oh no!
actually, Celine Dion ended up being our wedding song.
Oh, there you go.
No.
Really? You said no Celine Dion.
Everybody's. I know, and I think everybody's wedding song in that year was a Celine Dion song. Anyway,
No.
okay, Sean,
Wouldn't have been mine.
give us your challenge, and then we will say goodnight.
Challenge.
My challenge. So to end off this super long episode that I'm going to enjoy re-listening to later on in the month, I want to challenge everybody listening to test yourself. You know, like try listening to the shit that you don't like. I know I've been recently trying to listen to country music. It's again physically taxing. It hurts my heart a little bit, but at the end of the day, you know, it's essentially like just trying new things, right? You know, like eat Brussels sprouts, try new things, you know? For me, country music is like fucking eating mushrooms. I can't do it. I hate mushrooms. I hate pickles. I cannot do it. But if I have to try it, just the one split second, I don't care. You know, it's just the fact that you got to try it, right? If you don't like it, you don't like it. That's just where it's going to sit, right? But, you know, test yourself, test your musical limits in terms of what you can listen to and what you can stand before you can, you know, want to pull out your ears and, you know, fillet your skin off. So
That's dramatic.
Trust me,
Very dramatic.
I have strong feelings, man. Strong feelings.
Well, I'm going to listen to The Ghost Inside.
Oh, that you got to let me know how you feel about that.
I
Actually,
will.
message me and John specifically because we will tell you exactly why you were wrong when you say you hate it.
I want to know that, though. Again, this is what I want to know. This is why I'm so happy we did this episode, and I think we really accomplished what I was looking for.
Yeah.
I had a lot of fun with this.
Yeah,
It's
it's
all
a good
about the
time.
attachment that it has to you, you know, like where did you hear it? How did you hear it? Who brought it to you? And then, of course, the meaning of the song has a lot to do with everything for us. I love it. I absolutely love this. This is a lot of fun. And it's also interesting that you were talking about, you know, food, different kinds of food, Sean, because your Dorito taco pie is something I definitely want to try.
Okay, hold on.
I don't
I
think
gotta.
I don't think we were ready for the Dorito Taco Pie.
We are going to do another episode on food because we did one before on fast
there
food.
It is.
Look at that yumminess.
Look how gorgeous that is, eh?
That looks like something I want to try.
Oh, it gives you diabetes just looking at it.
More so.
We're going to be a skinny man anyway. So.
There you go. All right. I'm going to see if my camera will work for us to say goodbye here. See if that turns. Yeah, it does. All right, cool. So thank you, everybody, for watching this week. We had so much fun doing this. When we come back and we do another episode on just food expressions, that'll be another fun one that we should try. Coming up, we have some amazing guests. We have weather forecasters who do deep space photography. We have amazing women who play a woman in a band called Night Chill who plays the theremin. We have some amazing, amazing guests coming. So stay tuned. Thank you to everybody who has been on our show in the past. Aurora, Sean, Mark, love you guys. John, as soon as we find out how he's doing, I know he's not feeling well tonight. Love him too. Really, he has nothing to worry about me and school and the whole situation. I love it. I love differing opinions. As long as, people aren't camped out in Ottawa, blocking the world from doing stuff. There's anyway, that's a whole different conversation for another day. Thanks, everybody. We'll see y'all next week. Take care.
Peace. I'm curious, and I mean this in the nicest of ways. How does your boyfriend feel about the new do? I'm just curious.
I think he likes it. He says he likes it. He thought I was gonna go like a lighter color, but it's really hard to dye hair. I don't know if you guys have ever done it, but when you dye your hair a lighter color and your color's already 2 different shades, like knowing the science and the timing and like how much you're supposed to put in, like you can't get the level of color right. I've done it before. I've done it with blonde hair before, and it just was like impossible to match the 2 shades, and it just looked weird. So I'm like, the only way to do it easily when you have 2 different shades of colors of hair is to make it darker. Other than that, it's better to go to a professional. But
that's already a mouthful. I shave my head so I look like a testicle with teeth. Like I forget the whole thing.